Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to Startup Garage Show. Yeah, it was quite a pause in the last episode. So I'm Artem Kryavka, founder and CEO of Liverava, a digital system architecture platform, but I prefer knowledge management platform, but it's too geeky. So it's focused on helping founders and growing businesses build clearer, more scalable operational systems and ecosystems. And today we will talk about international scaling, investor access, accelerators, founder readiness, and building beyond local markets. And this is not a motivational webinar. We want this just to be a practical, high signal founder conversation. And today I would like to present our guest. It's Nick Ramil, CMO at Brinc. And Nick, great to have you here. And congratulations once again on becoming a father.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's my first time, I guess second, well now, third time in front of an audience since being a father. So still new. But Artem, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here and talk about all those topics you just mentioned. Very quickly, my name's Nick Ramil. I'm a founding partner and CMO at Brinc. We are a venture accelerator. We started in 2014. We've been around 12 years now. We have just under 300 investments in our portfolio. And our main sphere of influence is, if you're looking on a map, between the Middle East to Japan. So the Middle East and Asia and India in between. Uh, those are really the emerging markets, are our key area as sphere of influence. And we've gone from Asia to India. Now I'm sitting in Dubai in the Middle East. And of course, we've learned a lot, made a lot of good choices and a lot of bad choices, expanding to new markets, and excited to share more about what we've learned along the way the past 12 years.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, I know a bit about Brink. So, can you please tell more about Brink? What is Brink today? Yeah,
Yes,
except you already said.
absolutely. So, we are a venture accelerator and we have a few different, I would say, business models, or I would say a few different ways of engaging us. We have an investor path, we have a B2B path, but where I focus and why you and me are talking today is the B2C path. So more about the engagement directly with founders. And what we've seen over, the past decade plus, as investors and more importantly as founders ourselves, because all the founding team of Brink was also founders before we became investors, is being able to raise investments, being able to scale a business, being able to enter new markets. All of those, there's always a lot of challenges doing each and every one of those three things. And Brink, we really look at our approach as being a very founder first approach in terms of we've been there, we've done that, and we've been able to successfully build a portfolio over the years, again, helping founders along that journey. And I will be the first to say we're still learning every single day. And by that, I mean we're still the right way to do things and the wrong way to do things. But that's kind of, entrepreneurship in general. You're always going to have to be willing to make mistakes to eventually make the right choice. And when I look at what's really special about Brink is the fact that we really focus on founders who know that they don't want to just stay in one market in one region, who really want to take their businesses global. And we've been able to do that successfully for ourselves and for our investments and the founders we work directly with.
Mhm. I prepared some questions, and it seems like you answered almost every one. So you are presenting very well. So yeah, it seems like I need now to figure out what to ask additionally. So basically, the mission of Bring today is to help founders, but
Yes,
what kind of founders specifically? Yeah.
got
Uh,
it.
can you
Yeah,
describe it a bit more?
yeah, absolutely. Because we're 12 years old, we, like any VC or any accelerator, we've had to adjust and adapt and keep up with the times. First things first, we work normally with tech founders, is what you will normally tend to see, all sorts of technology. We've invested in IoT, home tech, health tech, agri-tech, sustainability, Web3. Of course, now everybody knows AI is one of the hottest things. You know that
Mhm.
very well yourself, and have been able to work and accomplish a lot there as well. I think it's for us, our main goal from the investors we want to work with is again, just at the very highest level, any founder who is in the technology space. That being said, it doesn't have to be, I feel a lot of founders really feel they have to reinvent the wheel, where we're looking for founders who want to build sustainable assets or businesses, right? Things built with steady foundations, not here today, gone tomorrow sort of businesses. So when it comes to the founders we're looking to work with, obviously outside of just being a tech founder, I would say the main thing we're looking for is entrepreneurs who are looking not just, for the exits, but are looking to also build a truly valuable asset and business along the way.
Yeah, and again, you answered for some questions I already mentioned, but thank you. It's very, very useful that you already described. So, yeah, the thought I now keep in my mind is why specifically those markets that you already mentioned? How
Sure.
has it happened? Was it your strategy, or it just was historically you went to these markets? Yeah, so
That's
you
a really great question, and I'm going to apologize because I'm going to give a very long answer, which you may tell me to speed it up a little bit. But we started in Hong Kong, Brink, but all of the founders, we were originally in mainland China. We were there in the 2010s and early 2000s when the Chinese market was really growing. And then we went to Hong Kong. After Hong Kong, then we went to India when, India was also growing. And now I'm sitting in Dubai now, and we're in the Middle East and UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, Saudi. We're all over the region. But the point is, and now we're in the UAE, and we did that really because I've had entrepreneur friends or people in my life who say, I've been very fortunate with timing, and I've been able to start and sell numerous companies as an entrepreneur in my journey the past 17 going on 18 years. But I really think being able to put yourself in a market that is, as I said, emerging, growing markets is a choice, and it's a strategic choice where, when you're part of a market that is when you're there and you can feel the energy and things are being built, and this I'm talking infrastructure to they're developing out the venture capital ecosystem to robotics and AI, for example, in mainland China. When we were there, they were very aggressive on certain forward-thinking technologies. And we've chose these markets again because strategically for us, we have a slide in a lot of our decks. I can't quite remember the exact statistics, but the from the Middle East to let's say Asia, that's where really the majority of the population of the world sits between, and most of them are emerging economies. And when it comes from the opportunity of the market, it doesn't really get bigger. And for what we want to accomplish as Brinc and the founders we work with, we really look to work with founders who want to, solve problems for not just hundreds or thousands of people, but millions of people. And to be able to do that, India, for example, is one of the most complex, difficult places I've done business. But it's very intriguing that India itself, it's the most populated country in the world. They have over 100 unicorn companies only serving the Indian population. And that to me is just shocking. But also, you can only do it in a country where you have that many people, right? And
Mhm.
hopefully that helped answer your question because really our entire goal is if you can strategically place yourself in growing markets, you as a founder, if you're working hard, can also grow and mature with that market.
Mhm. Thank you, Nick. So, yeah, you already mentioned the difference between these markets, but if we are talking about yeah, emerging markets like China and now India
Yes.
and other probably, what is so special? What benefits brings it to founders when you are peer in such kind of markets? What
Yes.
what can you say about these kind of markets?
Yeah, absolutely. I will still say a lot of these emerging markets, this was China when I was first there as an American, and this was India as recently my last trip and speech in India was last year. And you are still, I don't know the exact correct way to say this, but as a foreigner, you're treated they're they're always very happy and welcoming to have foreigners coming to their markets to want to learn more and be involved. And there's definitely a benefit to being someone from abroad, whether you're from North America or whether you're from Europe. The reality is being able, and actually even here in the Middle East, uh, as an American, as a European, they knowing that we are here in their part of the world, but doing things. Of course, you have to respect their customs and their business culture and everything like that. But the reality is also, the when you look at Europe and if you look at North America, we have a very good track record of and a lot much longer history of entrepreneurship, innovation, development. For example, here in the Middle East, there's an example I like to use is so from a venture capital perspective, there's 28,000 VC firms in America, and there's 28 in the UAE. So
Mhm.
obviously, one market is much more mature than the other market. And I
Yeah.
like to, use that as an example where because it's still early days here, you can still, a lot of what we've seen, a lot of founders be successful here is they've been able to take things that work in other markets and adapt them and adapt and implement them here. They take something from their home market and then adapt and implement it for the growing market and be able to, it's a proven model and process, and then they bring it to the new market and execute. And that's always been something we've seen a lot of founders execute very well. But yeah, I would say that the benefit is also low competition. When I was in China in the 2000 or in the 2010s in mainland China, Guangzhou and Shenzhen, there wasn't a lot of competition of foreigners who were willing to go out there and go build and live and do business full time in a new market. And that again gives you a competitive advantage. I'm in Dubai now, and everybody knows Dubai for various different reasons. But I will say when it comes to, you know, regardless of the reputation it has, there is a very high level of professionals who decide to call Dubai home because they do business between Europe and Asia. They have a high net worth, they have low taxes, and there's very high level operators here from a wealth and a network perspective. So, there's always benefits to stepping outside of your comfort zone and moving to a new market, in my opinion.
Mhm. So, except of tax benefits,
Yes.
what else could be a really big difference? If, for example, the founder operates from Berlin or yeah, Germany or Europe or maybe United States. What is so special uh, it gives for people to go to Middle East or Asia, for example, just to try to understand it better.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say starting with Asia, again, for me, I think being able to, first of all, from a founder perspective, a lot of the most successful founders I know are ones who have been and have pushed themselves outside their comfort zone, being able to adapt, to learn, to grow, and have a multicultural experience. And I think uh, that's number one on a foundational level. When it comes to, the actual Bennett, like the actual growth and opportunity of the market, candidly, I'm American, and we have like 350 million people. When I was looking to the first business I sold was an import business to mainland China. And they had 1.5 billion people or something like that. It was just purely the my product was for middle class Chinese. And the middle class Chinese, the customer segment was bigger than the entire population of America. I had 600 million customers to that I could
Wow.
product to. And more importantly, where I moved to in Guangdong, 150 million people, highest GDP, fastest growing province in China, and the product I was importing, the wine, paired really well with their food, and they're very hungry. They're emerging markets. One thing I will say they really want to learn, absorb. They want to try new things. And this is true in India as well. They want to be able to. When I was just there, or here in the Middle East, they want to be able to experience new things because they're moving to a new period in their economy as well. And yeah, I think tying it all together, it's market size and market opportunity. I'd say demand is also that's actually I really like your question. And sorry it took me so long to get here, but I would
Yeah,
say
that's great. I
yeah,
suppose it's one of the
um,
reasons why people could take a decision, but
yeah, I
what's so
think
special in it? Yeah.
yeah, there's a genuine demand that you just won't see in other parts of the world because it is like the middle class in India is emerging. The Chinese economy was up, then stagnant, now recovering, and everybody knows the Middle East right now in terms of capital is one of the wealthiest. So when you think about it from that perspective, we as Brinc, we look for two things. We look for quantity or quality. So quantity in terms of size of market or quality in terms of per capita spending capability. All the markets we just talked about cover one or both of those.
Okay, so just a short another perspective. So is it really nice to go with a strong product to these markets, or it's not necessary? You can go with a uh, like not very advanced product and then adopt to the market. How do you think? What is the better approach?
Yeah, there's I will say we've seen both work, candidly. I would say, and just to be clear, you're asking, is it better to come with a final product and deploy it into the market or a product that's still in development and then adapt it to the market, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Sure. So whenever we, even as Brink, we've tried the copy paste model, bringing it to new markets, even here in the Middle East. Uh, I will say every time, and even before Brink with my wine business, even going from Guangdong province to Fujian province, the neighboring province, every time I've tried just to copy paste to a new market, I've always gotten a very good reminder. It's going to be a little harder than that. And And I would say I think the important thing to think about is figuring out how to, if you can come with a winning product, uh, but have flexibility. I like to always use like the 80/20 principle, if you will, where if it could come like
Mhm.
80% and then 20% you're willing to adjust, change, or adapt, that's normally a pretty good winning, I would say, percentage or recipe that we look for. Uh, I will also say, for example, where again, a lot of founders had a lot of successes. They took successful and this is happening right now in the Middle East. They took successful models from the US market in software and AI and in app and delivery services, you name it, and they localize it here. And of course, they have to put in, outside of just language, but colors and cultural sensitivities and all of those things. And you see, honestly, those sort of businesses who are willing to come here. I would say, like with I forget which entrepreneur had this saying, but it's like strong beliefs held loosely, where they have their core beliefs, but they aren't when they come to a new market, they aren't as strict or stringent about how to adapt their business to it. I don't think there's very few businesses I think that are products or services that can truly be global in terms without any sort of localization or adapting or adjusting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. And I also have seen on the Brinc website that you are planning to open the representative in Vietnam. So what is so
Yes.
special in Vietnam? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We just signed our joint venture with, it's not Sunhua. I should know this. But again, we're doing a lot in the company right now, but it's a very large company in Vietnam. And first of all, on a personal level, Vietnam is one of my favorite countries in Asia. It's number two or number three for me. Everybody there is a hustler. Like everybody there is, they have a tourism company, and then they'll turn their home into a homestay, and then they'll be barbecuing food on the street for people walking by. There's a very much a energy of everybody's trying to do something more than just their day job, which I love that. And then when you look at the economy and what's developing there right now, there's been a lot of overflow from China in terms of manufacturing, in terms of Web3 openness, in terms of reduced regulations compared to some of the neighboring countries. That again, they are taking a pretty aggressive bet in the future. GITEX is which is a big conference, the largest technology conference in the world. It's called GITEX. It's here in Dubai every year. GITEX Asia is going to be held in Vietnam. And it's one of
Mhm.
those things where, they're putting a big bet on entrepreneurship and technology to essentially move the economy forward. And yeah, Vietnam for us is just one of those places where we feel there's a lot of that. Again, entrepreneurship. First of all, Vietnam as a country has been through a lot. They're very resilient people, and I will also say that it's really in their DNA to persevere, move forward, and figure out a way to, for lack of a better word, hustle and make money. And when you put resilience and hustle together, you get a pretty productive country and economy.
Just a quick question. Hanoi, Da Nang, or Ho Chi Minh?
Ooh, good question. Hanoi, if you are going to go do some mental, or I would say mental or emotional sort of thinking. Da Nang, if you're going to go for a beach holiday, and Ho Chi Minh, if you're going to get some work done, enjoy a very fast-paced city, great food and great nightlife. So they're all wonderful.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, then let's go to the next chapter, investors and
Sure.
accelerators. So, as I know, Bring do some
Yes.
activities in that area as well. Maybe it's a good time to maybe to show something if you would like. So, Yeah, and here usually, and very often, it's a huge gap between what founders think and what investors want. Yeah,
Yes.
especially when we are talking about different geography and mentality. So, what investors actually evaluate? Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So what we actually care about, and this is something I'm very passionate about in terms of having been a founder, having fundraised, having bootstrapped, having to fundraise even as an investor, or help our investments fundraise and close deals. Uh, that's a really great question, and this is one that I feel a lot of founders don't know. And honestly, the number one thing I tell every founder is investors were investing in people first. As we says here, the idea is second. We really focus on founders with conviction, resilience, and clarity. Uh, this next line is also so important that most startups are technically right, but few make investors feel why the founder will win. For me, I think it's so important. As I said, I am all like investors care about three things in this order. Number one is the founder, number two is the market, and number three is the product. It is that simple. There's really not much beyond that that any investor I know really thinks about when during, and this is of course during the initial conversation and meeting. Uh, the founder part, do I like you? Do I not like you? Why should I trust you? What about your story can tell me you're going to be resilient? One of my favorite founders, our very first investment, Florian, from Germany, actually. He's the founder and CEO of Soundbrenner. German guy from a small village, went to Mexico, learned Spanish, wrote a book about studying abroad, came to Hong Kong, pitched his startup to us, and then went to China to go figure out how to do product development with hardware. Uh, I knew everything I needed to know about Florian about before he got to Hong Kong to pitch us. It was seeing him being able to go these little moving to Mexico from Germany and learning a new language. Just these, yeah, he was from a village of like 600 people, I believe he said. And those sort of seeing someone know that he had figured out those parts of his life up until we'd met in person, I knew he would figure out the startup and business part. Happy to say, he's been one of our best investments to date, and he's absolutely crushing it now. Uh, so that's a really good example of resilience in a founder story. The market, it's literally, is it growing or is it shrinking? That's all I ever think about. And it's for me, it's, being too early and being too late are really the biggest risks. So there's a sweet spot there. Product, honestly, is a distant third where I'm always trying to figure out, realistically, I don't, our best investments to date have always pivoted at least once. And so that's why if the first two are clear, then the third one, if that's clear too, good. But I always know that where we start and where we finish is very different places. And then this is kind of attaches to what I was saying at the beginning, just from a slide perspective, as you're asking, is that founder story, as I just used the example of Florian, but really having a founder story is super important. And then the traction and the momentum is the other thing. In today's world, we as investors, everyone I know needs to see some sort of traction. And this isn't revenue or profit or product. This can be customer discovery, customer development. This could be a user wait list. This could be, alpha and beta users, or it could be honestly a founder who has 10 to 100 customers is more has gotten further, in my personal opinion, than a founder who has, let's say, a few patents and invested X amount into product development. Because the reality is, very rarely is a product the end all be all for the startup. The main thing is how are you actually doing the hardest part of the business, which is the transaction or getting audience attention. And then yeah, I think the other part for me is just making sure to investors around the world want different things. The number one thing I see in Asia and the Middle East is, and again, Europe, I'm not nearly as familiar with, and I am familiar with North America, but Middle East and Asia is very heavy on the relationship. Very much, an investor I know, the director of a multi-billion dollar fund, he really blew my mind when even at his level, he says he looks at every investment and the founder if this is a person I want to spend 10 years of my life with because that's what it's going to be. Like I was talking to Florian yesterday. We invested in him 12 years ago. And we're talking about business or introductions or things like that. But it really is. It's a long term. It's not just about a return. It is about wanting to make sure that there's some sort of a founder investor alignment there. And yeah, I think aligning with the right investors who are most importantly at your right stage is also really important. A pre-seed investor is not going to invest in a Series A deal, and a Series A investor is but very rarely. A Series A investor is not going to invest in a pre-seed deal. Investors have different amounts, different risk tolerances, and most importantly, expect different returns. And it's really important to know that what those expected ranges are before you kind of just go and do a blanket approach because that's just not going to work. Sorry, did that answer your question? I just want to make sure that
Yeah, that's was great, and maybe it's also interesting. What makes a startup accelerator ready? Because a
yeah,
lot of people they just uh, sometimes doubting. Okay, should I go to accelerator? Or no. So, what is from your opinion is the moment when the startup is really need to go to accelerator or
yeah,
go and hustle for fundraising or and yeah, because it's
great.
not an easy task. Yeah, you probably know
Sure.
it as well. That it takes a lot of time and effort and energy. Yeah, so but what specifically make a startup founder to be sure? Okay, this is the moment. I need to go around right now.
Yeah, that's great. I would say for me, it's always after the initial traction. Uh, Again, I think from an accelerator perspective and even from an investor perspective, we are bombarded by, and we've learned over the past 10 plus years, an idea, and I'm sure you know this, Artem, is worth very little.
Mhm.
Everybody and their mother has so many ideas, but we want to see traction and execution. I would like that really, and I'm not trying to use traction as a broad term, but I really mean it as anything you could show me that people are actually interested in or using the solution or the product or the service that you're coming up with is the main thing that will tell us, okay, if the way I look at it personally, if we see that you've gotten to that point on your own, then we know the accelerator or the investor, the capital can be the fuel on the fire to speed it up. Because in today's world with AI and all the technology and it's so great. It is such an exciting time to be an entrepreneur and an investor and a founder. That being said, AI is not going to make you a better entrepreneur. The reality is there's just going to be more creation, but that doesn't technically mean more success or more value. Entrepreneurship by itself is still a 5% success game or a 3% success game. It's very small. AI can help people get things created and developed and built faster, absolutely, and help them market and sell, absolutely. But if they don't understand the fundamentals of customer discovery, customer development, creating the right offer, being persistent with follow-ups and all of those things, then it's irrelevant. The reality, like, then it's not like they're going to win more. They will still lose. And yeah, I think for me, it's that initial traction. And I would say the other part is when you're more if once you're past co-founders, if you're co-founders and a founding team, let's say, like if there's two of you, like the technical person and the business person, and maybe you have a third or a fourth person, and you're having traction momentum, then acceleration and fundraising would be a good step in the right direction. Strategically, the more traction you have, the more leverage you have as a founder as well. Like if you're already making, if you already have revenue, if you already have profit, if you already have beta or alpha or beta testers and users, then you also have more leverage at the negotiation table when the investor is trying to, of course, negotiate the deal for the equity.
Okay, thank you, Nick. So,
Yeah,
would you like to show some? Oh, yeah, yeah, that's what's my idea. Maybe we don't need slides anymore. So,
sure.
let's dive a bit deeper. Yeah, as you mentioned in your slide as well, that founders are essential.
Yep.
So so we have talked about markets differences. So now, what makes a founder truly ready for international growth?
A great
So
question.
it's not about the market, it's not about the product, it's about the founder. What makes him specifically or her ready for international growth?
Yes, sure. No, that's a really great question. No, first and foremost, stability in your home market. I would say too, I have a classic saying, and a lot of founders roll their eyes, but I always say too much, too fast, too soon for too many. That is most entrepreneurs, that's been me countless times in my life, and I'm sure that will be me even though I know this. It's part of what's the entrepreneur DNA, right? You just want to go, 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 do more. I'm going through that right now as a first-time dad, trying to do too much, too fast, too soon with a newborn baby, and realizing I just don't have the time or energy that I used to. So even sharing that and now thinking about it myself, I'm like, huh. I guess that's me right now too. I would say they, and again, tying it back because I think stories always make things easier. Guangdong, we were crushing it. We were owning the market for our category and our customer base. And immediately in my head, I was like, and my co-founder's head, it's like, let's go to Shanghai, let's go to Beijing, let's go to Xi'an, let's go to the other major markets in China. Beijing's a 3 hour flight, Shanghai's a 3 hour flight, Xi'an's a 3 hour flight, and then get into these markets, meeting people, doing kind of my first round, and then coming back to Guangdong around. And before I knew it, I was, the success we were having wasn't nearly in Guangdong as in what we were having in other parts of China because we weren't present. We weren't stable we weren't consistent in those new markets. And I think that's
Mhm.
the main issue that I see most founders, and Brink included. We've had a lot of trouble breaking into certain markets in Asia and the Middle East because we aren't consistently there as much as we should be. And this is, even at the size we are now, it's not the easiest pill to swallow, but you have to. The reality is uh, unless you're really ready to enter the new market and be consistently in that new market,
Mhm.
develop good relationships, and be intentional about building, then it's probably too soon. I think a lot of founders get very distracted by a market opportunity and a size or a growth, and they think, oh, I'm just going to go there and it's going to work. Where, I'm in Dubai, I've been here since 2022. Our CIO got here in 2019, before it was like the cool place to be. He was here before that, and he was here through COVID. And, now we've been here 7 years. And now we have all the partnerships, and now we have a great brand presence here and all of those things. But it wasn't overnight. You know what I mean? But we've been here present consistently. And I think that's really important for a lot of founders to understand is just attacking a new market because it looks like a good opportunity will be a distraction. And I think going to do that before you have stability in your, like, you should never go to a new market to, 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 uh, how do I say this? You should never think a new market is going to bring you like the stability that you're looking for. It's going to add some instability to your business. So unless you're fully stable in your home market, then a new market might not be the right choice, in our opinion.
Thank you, Nick.
Yep.
You remind me the story about Amazon from Jeff Bezos, and
Yes.
he has described some story about the first purchase from Bulgaria, I suppose. So pe people couldn't pay online, so they just taken a brief and put some money inside of it and made an order with this brief. So they just send it to the United States to make the order. So it was a very interesting because, yeah, it's like I tried to figure out, okay, when someone is loving your product or the way you do some services, that they are ready to take a brief, to put some money and to send it via post,
Yeah.
it's probably the right moment to think about, okay, probably we need to go to that market as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
no, absolutely. I think if the demand is like that, then by all means, you should figure out a way to get there.
yeah, and sometimes, yeah, now you have described this story about China. I should say about Europe as well. I have experience in different countries here in Netherlands, in Germany, in France, in Ukraine. So I should say that it's also not easy sometimes just to scale geographically because of the differences mentality and language and some administrative issues. So every country has their own unique features, and you need to think about as well. So how
Yep.
it is in Asia? Is it also so segmented as Europe, for example? Because yeah, when we are talking about United States, they are more mono mm, like it's one big market, yeah,
Sure, sure.
for many reasons. How it is in Asia and China, yeah, you described it a bit, but also it's interesting how segmented it is. So,
Yes, a very segmented, like, yeah, I mean, using the Vietnam, Philippine, I mean, we have offices in Hong Kong, China, Korea, Japan, Vietnam, Singapore. Every one of those countries, while there's definitely overlap in Asian culture and the way of doing things, completely different way of operating and doing business in each of them. And each one has its
mhm.
nuances. You know what I mean? Very similar to Europe as the example you just used, Ukraine, Germany, France, Italy, Spain. Even though they're right next door and there's overlaps in European culture, there's definitely different ways of doing business in those countries.
Okay, so we have three more chapter. So I probably will speed up a bit so we can cover all of them. Um, So I know that Brinc is some kind of ecosystem, yeah, and you build a very meaningful relationship with founders, and you also make retreats and different events. So yeah, it's really resonate with what we are doing in Liverava and our community. We are also gathering together entrepreneurs and experts and talents, and we are trying to share knowledge between what kind of ecosystem do you have? How founders can benefit from it? And yeah, what kind of relationships are you building in Brink?
Sure, absolutely. I would love to just quickly share just one more slide, if it's okay with you. Just how to work with us if you're outside of our portfolio is just a founder, in general who wants to engage. We have events regularly in our key markets around Asia and around the Middle East. I'll be speaking at one here in Dubai, and I want to say, I think it's 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, something like that. Uh, We have a couple hundred founders get together, and I'm the theme of this event is about growth because I'm big into the marketing and sales part of the business. But how to work with us from around the world or globally, we have a virtual accelerator for more pre-seed and seed stage companies where, this is all about, one-to-one engagement with us, with our mentor database, meeting investors and partners directly through our network, and really helping you either go for that first pilot, that first POC opportunity, or for that first fundraise process. The market expansion that we do again is more seed or late say, or Series A, uh, which is this is you're ready, the business is working, it's functioning. Like I said, you've already established in your home market and you're ready. You're going to invest and expand to a new market. And we help people right now, we have companies from the UK who are expanding the Middle East. We have companies from Australia who are expanding to Asia. We have companies in Korea who are coming to North America and everything in between. We've been around 12 years. We've ran, 100 plus programs. We have a very strong, we have nearly 1,000 investors in our investor net database. When it comes to corporate partners, we have tens of thousands that we've worked with. Long story short, we are really able, when it comes to innovation services or when it comes to startups, we have a really good, sorry, that comes off arrogant. We have a strong reputation in the markets where we're active. And then the latest stage is the Series A or late seed Series A is the founder retreat. That is, for me, we do that in Europe. We do them in Europe and we're going to start doing them in Asia as well. Probably the most exciting thing, in my opinion, because we leverage our personal and professional network, executives and C-suite of large brands. Think of Lamborghini, Hermes, Nike, so on and so forth, globally recognized brands, and leadership from those companies coming and speaking with founders in a very one-to-one, intimate, no more than 10 founders, intimate experience. And every founder for these retreats is vetted in terms of, normally the baseline is a minimum of a seven-figure business. And for the cohort we have coming together this July, for the six or seven founders that have already enrolled between us, there's more than a dozen exits. So obviously it's a very certain caliber of founder, where we really believe in this world with the AI and technology and COVID, everybody being all virtual, this and that, nothing replaces in real life. And again, this is a very relationship driven sort of engagement where at our last retreat, we had people co-invest, we had people partner, we had people making investor and corporate introductions. And again, I just love it because it's authentic. There's no egos. Everybody's there for the same reason. Everybody wants to grow, do better, be a better founder, run a better business, and is there to genuinely give as much as they get. And I think that's a really fun thing that we've put together. And yeah, those are really how we engage founders at every level that are outside our portfolio from around the world.
Okay, so how important? Okay, no, not that way. So what brings this ecosystem to founder? What opportunities it gives to them, and except, yeah, of course, connections. It's very meaningful, and because, yeah, I mean, business world reputation and network is essential, as I think. And what else could be in your ecosystem for founders to be like
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, I
the
think the
best
the
thing
other
to have.
bucket that we'll discuss, of course, capital, whether that's directly from Brinc, whether it's your syndicate fund or our investor network. At the end of the day, being very direct, I'm also for every one of these programs that you see, we are looking for this is how we test the waters with the founder and the business of is this a founder or business we want to get involved with? From the virtual accelerator, we are investing into a few companies and strategically aligning with the market expansion. We have conversations going on. And on the founder retreat, as I said, we've also had commercial alignment conversations because, again, for us, again, this kind of goes back to the earlier slides I had from about the investor perspective. When we start to see a founder that we think, hey, this guy or girl could be something special, we will, of course, figure out how we can provide value and also get involved into the business they're building.
So, Nick, why? So it's probably the last question about the ecosystem from
Mhm.
me. So why do some founders gain access to opportunities while others don't? How do you
Why
think?
do they gain access and others don't, right? In new markets, would you say is that it's the question around new markets, correct?
Yeah. So why specifically bring as ecosystem can be beneficial for one founders and others probably won't will
Got it.
not. So yeah.
Great, no, yeah, that's a great question. Because I feel I feel all you see today on LinkedIn or social media is everybody's always posting about their wins and their wins, but nobody's really talking too much about what it took to get there or the losses along the way. I think honestly, for the founders that we want to work with, on top of what we've already said, with in this presentation is one of the most important things we're looking for is, how do I say this the correct way? Founders who are committed to, I would say, a longer term vision or growth plan. There, everybody knows there's certain markets around the world that are, as we've talked about today, growing rapidly or very large. But the reality is, you can't just show up and expect to win, the next day or the next week or the next month. And the founders that we have the most success with and the founders we do the best work with are the ones who are committed to, whether it's the region, whether it's the market, or whether it's the fundraising plan, and who understand it is not a this is not a ABC 1, 2, 3 process, right? I think, and on you yourself, me myself, we've been entrepreneurs for year after year after year after year. We've had some great years and some not great years. That's just part of the journey of entrepreneurship. And for us, we want to, again, the founders who tell us, everybody's always interested in new markets and entering new regions or fundraising. But I would say the vast majority aren't committed to that from a long-term perspective. And that comes down to, the resources you have as a business, as a team. That comes down to your resilience you have as a founder. That comes down to even looking at the Middle East right now, what's happening in the region, it
Mhm,
was the hottest place to be, and now it's the opposite of that. But it
mhm,
will heat back up, and but that will take time. And a lot of founders we knew here in the region, or a lot of business owners, when things started to become a little more uncertain here, they took off. Myself, the executive team, majority of the Brinc team, we're all still here. You know what I mean? There has to be some sort of
mhm.
commitment. I guess this is my way of saying being founders who are genuinely committed to the result and the new outcome are the ones that we see yielding the new results. Because if they're committed, it's really a question of, it's not if, but it's when. And I think that's what we look for. Hopefully that answered the question.
Yes, yes, definitely. Yeah, our next topic is about this, how to recover after such things like this entrepreneurship life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy. I always say like to be entrepreneur, it's the hardest work
Oh, yes.
ever. Yeah, because there is so much uncertainty, especially when you do something really innovative, where nobody can tell you how it should be because you are on the cutting edge. It's a new boundaries that you need to discover some new horizons. And yeah, then in such situation entrepreneurs can be really alone in their challenges, and that's
Yep.
why it's so important to be in some kind of community that's understand it, that accept it, that support it, that respect it. Yeah, it's very important to be in a right environment, because
Yes.
sometimes when the environment is wrong, it's not easy to move forward. So you
Yeah.
probably know it, I know it. So that's why it's so important to be in some kind of community ecosystem that's really supports you, because there are so many obstacles, like natural obstacles or artificial obstacles, that entrepreneurs should going through. And yeah, sometimes it's better to have some kind of community and ecosystem that support that rather uh, holding you back, so
Yeah.
that's really
No,
important.
it's funny you bring so for the entrepreneurship and the community point that you just brought up, I'd also like to say my brother, who I have three brothers, three older brothers, but one of them just has a, standard corporate job, 9 to 5. And I remember he told me that at 5 p.m. at the end of the day, he doesn't think about work at all until the next morning. And I was
Yeah.
like, when he told that to me, I couldn't imagine. I was like, oh my, what a interest. Like, again, I've never, you and, we haven't gone the corporate route and don't have that experience. But to me, I was like, that is so interesting. I couldn't
Mhm.
imagine just have being finished at that certain time. And then,
Mhm.
on the community side, that's why we're really, even at Brink, and what we're always looking to do is, it's really important, we think, to have people in front of you to motivate you, equal to you for healthy competition, and behind you to keep you humble and also stay focused on your fundamentals. And that's why, we have the programs that we do, and the portfolio and the founder and community engagement that we do, because like you said, there's entrepreneurship is such a lonely road. And I can very confidently say I odds are I would not have succeeded in the early days if I wasn't around, my best friends and the people we started our business with, because
Mhm.
we shared, there was a lot of lows we shared before we got to experience some highs. And some days it'll be you who's low, or some days it'll be your co-founder or your team or whoever. And that's why you need to be surrounded by the right people who are, I always tell entrepreneurs, like, you need to get around other founders. You need to get around other entrepreneurs, because
Mhm.
if you're around your family or friends, and everybody's 9 to 5 or corporate and safe and that route, odds, it's going to be a very hard ecosystem. They won't understand what you're going through.
Mhm.
They'll give you advice that they think is relevant to their lives, that has given them the lives that they want. But if you don't want the same things, yeah, I think you've really hit the point there, where I think community is more important than anything, on
Mhm.
your journey as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I really glad that it resonates. And I remember the situation from the co-working space where I used to be a lot. And on 5 p.m., exactly in 5 p.m., I see like so many people just gone. They vanished, like
Yeah, yeah,
empty.
yeah,
And
yeah.
only few of people are still there. And that's when I can say for sure. these people are entrepreneurs and they are focused and they really on what they so working on something that matters for them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I cannot say it's absolutely healthy. Just recently, I've watched the movie Aviator. It's about Howard Hughes, one of the
Ah, yes.
brightest mind. Yeah, and sometimes you should pay a really big price for this focus and commitment. Yeah, and
Hmm.
I hope that in Brinc and in our community, we will be wise enough not to, not to be in these extremes where you have to sacrifice everything just to be focused on your main mission. Yeah, so yeah, it's really big wisdom and art to balance between. Work and life, especially when you're so dedicated to your startup or yeah, whatever you do. So
100%.
yeah, that's a great moment to go to the next topic about the founder retreat. I know that you are
Sure.
organizing it. Yeah, how often it is, and yeah, can you please just tell more about these retreats and why they are here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, the founder retreat, which I can actually pull something up on that quickly,
Yeah, great.
if that's okay with you. And I will get that up here. The founder retreats, they're in Europe, every summer. We actually have a lot of inbound demand. So we're actually going to start most likely doing one in Asia in the winter, as well. And really, the entire thought process here is thanks to we we have a very extensive network, like everybody does. But that being said, we've been able to partner with and work with some really innovative brands and companies and leadership at those companies. And the whole goal for the retreat is to have these speakers from very senior brands come talk about how essentially they've achieved the very best in their category, whether it's wine or fashion or automotive or hospitality. And other than the speakers who are there, for Q&A and engagement direct, it's unfiltered access to, leadership from some of the world's biggest brands. The other thought is, all the attendees are all founders who are at a certain level. So everybody, has at least, $1 million business, and everybody's also, more importantly, looking to grow not just their business, which everybody is, but also grow as a founder. And I think it's one of those things where it's that classic saying, if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. So this is a lot more about being, having speakers who are the very best at what they do for inspiration and motivation and direct engagement and question and answer. And then being in a room of founders who everybody is there, everybody's past the early stage. They're not trying to figure out product market fit. They're not trying to figure out they're not trying to figure out first revenue. They're not trying to do any of the early stage stuff. It's more about how are they taking themselves as a founder and their business to the next level. Normally, as we've talked about, the founder, the captain of the ship, is the most important variable to make that
Mm.
happen. And yeah, our goal with this retreat is to again fill the room with the right founders who everybody is there to with the same common goal. And as we just talked about from the community, as you very nicely connected the points, being able to have this little community of people who we're all going after a common goal, and we also have people in front of us, at a higher level in these bigger brands there to inspire and motivate us to help us keep driving towards these, additional goals and outcomes. So that's the retreat. This July, there's one in Tuscany, and at the end of the year, we'll most likely be hosting one in Hong Kong as well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, it's very resonate with me, and yeah, and again, you have answered all my questions almost
Awesome.
that I have
Perfect.
prepared. So yeah, so okay, so why Tuscany? Just curious, why specifically Tuscany?
Great question. We've had that question a few times. I've spent so personally, Tuscany was the place I was introduced to when it was our year one or year two of Brinc. As you said, sacrificing a lot, early mornings and late nights, building the company, sacrificing personal life and other things to get it where it needed to go. Was very much getting close to burning out. A mentor of mine, had relocated to Tuscany and said, this is the place to come kind of decompress and relax. Went there 2015, and I've been going there every summer since. To me, it's one of the most peaceful, relaxing, really inspiring and thought-provoking places in the world. I think everybody likes to think they're working on something incredible, but and building something important. But for me in Italy, in Tuscany and Florence in particular, you get to walk by Galileo's house.
Hmm.
David is there. The Antinoris, who've been making wine for 26 generations. Chomsky has a house on the corner, or where he used to live. Like
Hmm.
all of these things that, actually one of my favorite things to do, it's not in Florence, but in Italy in general. Every time I'm in Rome, I just go get a double espresso and sit outside the Colosseum and think, this thing has been here thousands of years, and here I am.
Hmm.
This talk about legacy. It's
Hmm.
one, for me, of course, when you think about the Medici's and everything they did from a Renaissance and science and arts. Tuscany is where that all happened, and I don't think that was a coincidence, right? So, in when we do this in Tuscany, well, I mean, I got married there last year. Like our daughter's
Wow.
name is an Italian name. I have a very good relationships there, which is why some of the brands, that are speaking at our retreat are through those personal relationships I've developed. And to be able to host a lunch where Machiavelli was exiled, and he wrote The Prince.
Hmm.
To be able to have a private dining experience at Palazzo Antinori, their palace in Tuscany. To be able to do all these things through existing relationships is something that is just, again, my goal for these retreats is to really, I don't like the word, but my goal is really, as an American, we don't have this sort of history. And
Hmm.
I think history is a really good motivator for future building in the future and longevity. And sorry, it's a very long-winded answer, but
No, 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 that's great. That's great
it
answer.
is.
I'm really grateful to you for telling the whole idea. Yeah, I personally like Italy as well, and the food and wine and
That
the
helps.
nature. Yeah, it's really, really great, especially, when you are in a very intense processes, in a crowded places, public speaking, um, just very busy processes. Then, of course, the place like Tuscany can you calm down, like to be
Exactly.
grounded, literally grounded, and just to feel a very quiet, simple pace. Yeah, it's some kind of opposite mode that's really necessary, to recover, to restore.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's why I find this idea really great and really recommend to other people.
Yeah. We'll
Yeah,
need to get you
so
there as well.
yeah, I hope so. I hope so, that everything will bring everything can bring should bring to that.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, we are going to the end of our show. So in the end of the show, yeah, let's try to give some practical advice
Sure.
to the founders that are watching us today, and probably you can say something very meaningful, important for you, for Bring, uh, and especially for those, who are now building in Europe. It's also challenging time for everyone, and particularly here. Just recently I've seen a really nice startup. It was made by a student. He is still a student, and he's finishing his master degree. But he already have opened a really nice store. It's absolutely uh, autonomous. It's
Oh, wow.
specifically for Germany. It's very cool because here on Sunday you cannot just go to the store because they all are closed. So
Sure.
this idea is great because of its everything is robotized. Then it can work 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. So it's opened all the time, and all the students or just anyone can come there and buy. Yeah, of course it's a limited. Yet it's not just a simple vending machine. It's a really robotic system with a shelf, so you can buy wine or salad or some snacks, whatever. Yeah, a really cool concept. I really
Awesome.
liked it. But yes, I still feel that it's not easy because when you're a student, you need to get some money for this, and then in this uncertainty, you never know will it be successful or not? How then to cover all these expenses? Yeah, but I really am optimistic about this idea particularly. So yes, it's some example of entrepreneurs that I know personally in here in Thuringian in startup community, in our community, and yeah. So what do you think? What kind of wisdom we can tell to these entrepreneurs that can successfully build in Europe and probably go somewhere else to Middle East to
Sure.
Asia?
Yeah, there's always a few things I say that a lot of people kind of, I don't say, I don't know, make fun of me for, but always know I say, just very simple things on my, like, I have a few sayings, obviously. Um, Keep it simple, stupid. I'm sure everybody knows that one. But business fundamentally is not hard. Like in terms of what it is, it's the exchange of goods or service for capital, right? It's business. It's not anything that you have to make overcomplicated, and normally the most simple way is normally the best way. That things can always get too confusing when they're too complex or too many details. So keep it simple, stupid is one. I'm a big believer in the ABC principle. There'll always be closing. Me being American, I think that marketing and sales are really at the end of the day, everybody, ever since my China days, everybody can build everything these days. Most people can't market or sell anything. And I think that's a big difference maker. And my final one is, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. For
Hmm.
me, and I forget who I heard this from, but there's a lot of companies out there generating a lot of revenue. But the reality is, the profit in terms of business or entrepreneurship, the profit is what enables you to invest in yourself, your growth, your team, your business systems, partners, whatever. And that's why, for me, I've always, even as a VC now, and as an investor now, that we of course make early stage investments, but the big separator for me is always looking into one, if the companies are generating revenue, and two, the even higher bar if they're generating profitable revenue, because that tells me they've built a true asset, if that makes sense. So a few, I guess three sayings I like to say.
I've already learned so much. Yeah, thank you for sharing, Nick. Yeah, it's a really interesting 3 points. Yeah, and all they are really cool. As from my perspective, yeah, I see a lot of simple um, uh, points that probably you can use every day, and it will bring you to a more successful business.
Absolutely.
Okay, so. Thanks again for this conversation and
Thank you
insights.
so
I
much.
really enjoyed this time with you, Nick. Yeah, um, absolutely. And thanks everyone for watching this video. Yeah, it will be in record, but yeah, I'm sure it will be as interesting as it was when we were recording.
Thank
So.
you. Thank you so much for having me, Artem. Appreciate it. Hopefully, some people get some value and look forward to doing this in person the next time.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I would like to say that yeah, in the Brava we also believe in sustainable growth, in sharing knowledge. Because for me it's very important to grow the the environment, so it will become more consciousness.
Mm,
As more consciousness it's more. Uh, it's likely it's more that you will like this environment because it just will be more developed, I suppose. So that's why
yeah,
it's so important for me to share the knowledge, so everything will grow around and prosper and yeah and bloom, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So thank you, Nick, again, and I hope that it's not the last episode that we are recording. Maybe sometime later we will make another one because Brinc is growing, we are growing, and we'll grow together with our
awesome. Yeah,
communities.
it won't be. Absolutely. And look forward to the next one.
Yeah, thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Artem. Appreciate it.